Congresswoman, you have constructed an entire professional career based upon the assertion of your own victimhood. However, today we are going to discuss the actual victims involved in this narrative. We will speak of the families who tragically lost their loved ones on September 11th, the teachers whose essential school funds you helped to misappropriate, and the constituents you represent who live in abject poverty while you personally became a millionaire. Let us commence this inquiry by examining the money. The Senate hearing room was packed to absolute capacity, with every single seat occupied, the press section was overflowing, and the gallery was buzzing with palpable anticipation. The microphones were live, and the cameras were rolling, creating the kind of electrically charged atmosphere that manifests when everyone present understands that something momentous is about to unfold. Senator JD Vance sat at the raised dais with his documents meticulously organized before him, appearing calm and thoroughly prepared. The former Marine and Yale law graduate possessed that distinct presence of being the adult in the room, a quality for which he had become well known. There were no theatrics and no grandstanding, only a methodical precision to his demeanor. Positioned below him at the witness table sat Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, having been sworn in with the oath still hanging in the air, her lawyer whispering urgently in her ear while her face was already tense. She knew exactly what was coming. There were 7 years of financial irregularities, 7 years of questions she had dodged, and 7 years of scandals she had dismissed as Islamophobia. But not today. We have a significant amount of ground to cover today, Congresswoman, Vance stated. 7 years of financial irregularities, broken laws, ethical violations, and a pattern, a very clear pattern, of you enriching yourself while claiming to fight for the poor. He looked directly at her. She could not hold his gaze. Let me start with something simple. A question you have dodged for 5 years now. Your husband's consulting firm, the E Street Group, was paid over $3 million by your campaign in 2020. Is that correct? She shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Senator, I think that is. Yes or no, please, he interrupted. $3 million from your campaign to your husband's firm. Correct? The amount is $3 million. Yes or no? She could not answer. She was already rattled and already defensive. The hearing had only just begun. She exhibits this interesting vocal affectation when she is caught, where her voice climbs half an octave higher, as if she is explaining something to a particularly slow child, who just will not understand the complexity of her brilliant mind. Senator, those were legitimate consulting expenses. $3 million, he said, letting the figure sit there, heavy and unavoidable. To your husband, while you were engaged in an affair with him, according to his ex-wife's divorce filing, and while both of you were still married to 2 other people. The room stirred noticeably. Someone in the press section coughed. Cameras clicked, the sound of digital shutters firing in rapid succession. This was the money shot. This was the reason they had all come. That is a personal. It becomes public when you use campaign funds, he countered. Federal Election Commission rules are very clear. Campaign funds cannot be used for personal expenses, personal relationships, or personal benefit. But let us walk through the timeline because it is fascinating, truly fascinating, he said, as he pulled a paper from his stack. The rustle of the paper was amplified in the quiet room. August 2018. First payment to his firm, $230,000. The same month his ex-wife states, you two started the affair. Coincidence? She opened her mouth, closed it, and opened it again. Her lawyer leaned in closer and whispered something she could not quite hear. She nodded slightly. I don't have to respond to... Under oath, Congresswoman. You took an oath 20 minutes ago. Do you remember that part? Her lawyer whispered again, more urgently this time. She sat back and tried to compose herself. She failed. Those payments were for digital consulting and fundraising services. Services. Right. Let us talk about those services, Vance said as he adjusted his reading glasses. A calculated pause followed, letting the tension build as the room leaned in. We have your campaign finance reports, every single one from August 2018 through November 2020. Want to know what is interesting? The payments to his firm track perfectly with his travel schedule. The travel his ex-wife Beth Minette documented in her divorce filing. The trips where he was supposedly with you, not working with you. He looked down at his notes, making a show of checking the dates while everyone waited. September 2018, the campaign pays E Street Group for travel expenses $42,000. The same week, Beth Minette notes in her filing, "My husband traveled to California, claimed it was work. Later admitted he was with Congresswoman Omar." Her words, not mine. Same week, $42,000. Omar's jaw tightened. You could see it even from the back of the room. The crack in the facade. Senator, you are conflating. October, campaign pays $68,000. Same month, Beth Minette says her husband told her he was leaving her for you. Quote, he is romantically involved with Representative Omar. End quote. $68,000 that month. The pattern continued month after month. Vance walked through each one, each payment larger than the last, each corresponding to travel, to meetings, to trips where Tim Minette was supposedly doing campaign work, but was actually conducting a relationship with his client. By March 2019, right when the divorce was filed, the campaign had already paid E Street Group over $600,000, 600,000 inches, 7 months. Here is what makes it interesting, Congresswoman. Your previous consultants, the ones before you started the affair, charged $60,000 for an entire election cycle. Entire cycle, digital ads, fundraising, mail, everything. $60,000 total. He paused. Let that number sink in. This firm, your boyfriend's firm, $3 million for one cycle. 50 times more expensive. 50 times. Either he is the greatest political consultant in American history, or, well, use your imagination. Someone in the gallery laughed. Just one person. That kind of "I knew it" laugh. Then another joined, then a few more. It was the kind of nervous laughter that comes when something inappropriate becomes too obvious to ignore. Those are market rates, she tried to argue. Market rates. He nodded slowly, like a professor who had just heard a particularly absurd answer from a struggling student. Let me ask you this. Did you bid out the work, get competing quotes, or shop around for the best price? Silence followed. Her lawyer whispered again. She shook her head slightly. No. I will take that as a no. Because of course you didn't. You hired your boyfriend, paid him millions in campaign funds, then married him, then paid his firm even more, over $1 million additional dollars since 2020. Market rates, sure. Senator, this is... Let me ask you something else. The Federal Election Commission got a complaint about this. You know that? They couldn't investigate because there weren't enough commissioners at the time. Convenient. But the complaint laid it out very clearly. Campaign funds for personal expenses, personal relationships. Want to know what is considered a personal expense under federal law? He leaned forward slightly. The room leaned with him. Anything that would exist regardless of the campaign. Like, say, your boyfriend's travel to meet you, his hotel rooms when he stayed with you, his meals when you were together. All of that is personal. Illegal to pay with campaign funds. But you paid millions. The air felt thicker, heavier. You could hear people breathing, shifting in their seats, processing what they were hearing. So, we have $3 million in 2020. Over $1 million since then. Total $4.3 million from your campaign. Money donated by everyday Americans who believed in you, who thought you would fight for them. You funneled it, millions of their dollars, to your husband. The room had gone completely silent. That kind of silence that feels oppressive, like atmospheric pressure before a storm. Someone's phone buzzed, someone else cleared their throat. That was it. One more thing. Want to hear the best part? He pulled out another paper. This one a printout of a website screenshot. His firm's website. I had my staff look at it yesterday. Minimal, barely functional, no client list, no case studies, no team photos, no office address, just a contact form and a logo. That is it. That is the firm you paid $4.3 million. A firm with a broken website and no visible work product except your campaigns. He paused. He let it breathe. He let the audience savor it. So let me ask you directly, under oath, were these payments legitimate consulting fees for work actually performed? Or were they a way to funnel campaign money to your romantic partner? She couldn't look at him. She stared at the table, her hands anywhere but his eyes, while her lawyer whispered urgently. She shook her head slightly, not answering. I need an answer, Congresswoman. Those payments were, yes or no, legitimate consulting fees? Aye. We followed all. Applicable. That is not what I asked. Were they legitimate? Or were they personal expenses disguised as consulting fees? The silence stretched. 10 seconds, 20. Someone in the back shifted loudly. A chair scraped against tile. The sound echoed. I can't. I don't have to answer. Under oath, you do. But I will note your refusal to answer for the record. He made a note very deliberately. The scratch of pen on paper was amplified in the silence. Everyone heard it. Everyone understood what it meant. Let's move on to your state campaign finance violations, because the Minnesota Campaign Finance Board actually had the power to investigate, and they found something very interesting. A door at the back opened with a click, then closed with a click. Someone was leaving. Her first staffer was walking away. The sound of footsteps fading down the hallway outside. Your tax dollars at work. The Minnesota Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board. That is a mouthful. Let's just call them the watchdogs. The people whose job is to make sure state politicians follow the law, follow the rules, and don't steal from their campaigns. Vance pulled out another document. It was thicker this time, official-looking, with the state seal visible even from a distance. Simple stuff, really. Don't use campaign money for personal vacations. Don't use it to fix your tax returns. Basic ethics, kindergarten-level ethics, the kind of thing you would think a state representative would understand. He flipped through the pages slowly, making her wait, making everyone wait. June 7th, 2019. The board issued their ruling. You know what they found? Let me read it directly. Quote, the board found that Representative Omar improperly used campaign funds. Improperly, that is the polite way of saying illegally, for personal out-of-state travel and personal expenses. End quote. He looked up. There it is, black and white. Official ruling. You broke the law. She bristled, her voice rising already. That was a minor. Minor? The board ordered you to repay $3,469.23 plus a $500 fine, almost $4,000. You stole almost $4,000 from your state campaign for personal use. That is not minor, Congresswoman. That is illegal. The word hung there. Illegal. Not alleged. Not disputed. Ruled. Found. Decided. Illegal. Let's walk through what you did. June 2017. Your campaign pays for airfare to New York. $600. For what? To attend a People for the American Way event. America's cabinet, very progressive, very nice. I am sure the cocktails were excellent. Someone snorted and quickly covered it with a cough. But here is the thing. Nothing to do with your job as a Minnesota state representative. Nothing. The board found, and I am quoting here, while Representative Omar would not have been asked to participate had she not been elected, She did not attend this event to assist her in performance of her duties as a legislator." End quote. He looked up and met her eyes. She looked away. Translation: You used campaign money for a personal trip. Your campaign paid for you to go to a nice event in New York. Networking, socializing, building your brand, all personal, all illegal. That was illegitimate. The board disagrees. They investigated. They ruled. You broke the law. But wait. He smiled slightly. The kind of smile a prosecutor gets when he knows he has got more ammunition. There is more. He flipped a page, the sound crisp in the quiet room. Trip to Florida. Your campaign pays for it? You go down there to accept an honorarium. Get paid to give a speech. That is income. Personal income for Ilhan Omar. But your campaign paid for the trip, and you pocketed the speaking fee. That is called double dipping. Congresswoman, the board said no. Illegal. Chicago. Another trip. Campaign pays. You go to accept an award and attend a fundraising luncheon. Award for you personally. Fundraising for other organizations. Nothing to do with representing your Minnesota district. Nothing to do with serving your constituents. Campaign pays. You benefit. Illegal. Washington, D.C. Hotel room. Campaign pays. You are there for a Girl Up UN conference interview. Girl Up. United Nations. International organization. Nothing to do with Minnesota State Legislature. Nothing to do with state law. Nothing to do with your actual job. Your campaign paid for your hotel. Illegal. Each example hit like a hammer. Methodical. Relentless. The weight building with each one. The gallery was absorbing it. You could feel the mood shifting, murmurs growing, people whispering to each other, the sound building like a wave. But my personal favorite, this one is special. $1,500 paid to a law firm. Not for campaign work. Not for legal advice about your legislative duties. For what? He paused, milking it. To fix mistakes on your personal tax returns. He enunciated each word separately, making sure everyone heard your personal tax returns. You had tax problems, errors, mistakes, whatever you want to call them. You needed a lawyer to fix them, so you paid for it with campaign money people donated to get you elected. To help you serve them. Not to fix your personal taxes, your personal financial mistakes. You used their money for yourself. The gallery was murmuring louder now, quiet but growing. People were processing what they were hearing, understanding what it meant. What makes all this interesting, Congresswoman, is the pattern. Because it is the same pattern we saw in round one. Campaign money, flowing into your personal life, your personal relationships, your personal expenses, your personal travel, your personal taxes. Everything personal. Nothing about serving constituents, nothing about legislation, nothing about making life better for Minnesotans. He leaned back slightly. Let it sink in. Just you enriching yourself, taking care of yourself, using money that wasn't yours. Senator, those were honest mistakes, she tried. The board didn't call them honest mistakes. They called them violations. They fined you. They ordered you to repay. They found you broke the law. That is not a mistake. That is a choice. It was a learning experience. His voice had an edge now, sharp and cutting. You are not a child. You went to North Dakota State. You served in the Minnesota House. You knew the rules. You chose to break them. Honest mistakes don't involve $1,500 for your personal tax problems. Her face was reddening, voice climbing again, getting higher faster. The tell. This is clearly a politically motivated. The Minnesota Campaign Finance Board is politically motivated. They are a nonpartisan state agency established by law. Democrats and Republicans both serve on it. They investigated a complaint filed by a Republican, sure, but they found the facts. They made their ruling. Those are facts, Congresswoman, not politics. Facts. You are taking this out of, I am reading their ruling word for word. Want me to read more? I have 37 pages here. We can go through all of it, if you would like. She went silent. She knew she was trapped. Here is what bothers me most, Congresswoman. After the board ruled against you, after they found you broke the law, you issued a statement. Remember what you said? He didn't wait for an answer. Quote, "We have been collaborative in this process." End quote. Collaborative, like you were doing them a favor, like you were helping them investigate your own crimes. That is what they were. Crimes. Violations of Minnesota law. Then you said, and I love this part, the report showed that none of the money was used for personal use. End quote. He looked up and stared at her. Except it was. Every single violation they found was personal use. Personal travel, personal taxes, all of it personal. You lied. Again, even in your apology statement, you lied. The murmuring grew louder. Someone said something sharp. Others shushed them. But you could feel the anger building. The sense of betrayal. You paid the fine. $3,969 total. Barely a week's worth of your salary. Pocket change. No real consequences, no jail time, no removal from office, just a slap on the wrist. And what did you learn? Based on everything that came after, nothing. You learned nothing because you kept doing it. Federal level, bigger amounts, same pattern, same playbook. Use campaign money for personal benefit. Another door opened in the back. More footsteps. 2 more people leaving. The exodus was starting. Slow but steady. People were walking away from her. Let's talk about the 9/11 comments. The "some people did something" speech. Because there is someone in this room who wants to ask you about that directly. Her head jerked up, eyes scanning the gallery, looking for the threat, looking for who he meant. She found him. 3rd row, wearing a shirt with words on it. Her face went pale. Some people did something. Vance's voice had changed. Quieter, colder, more dangerous. The controlled fury of someone who had served, who had lost friends in uniform, who understood sacrifice. 5 words. 5 words that managed to minimize the worst terrorist attack on American soil. 5 words that reduced 19 hijackers, 4 planes, 2 towers, and 2,977 dead Americans to "some people did something," like it was a fender bender, a minor inconvenience. Some people did something. The room was frozen, nobody moving, nobody breathing. March 23rd, 2019. CAIR fundraiser in California. You are giving a speech, working the progressive base, talking about discrimination, civil liberties, Muslim Americans as second-class citizens, all very noble. Then you say it. He read from his notes. Quote, "CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties." End quote. Some people did something. Omar's lawyer was writing frantically. She was staring at the table. Couldn't look up. Couldn't defend it. First problem. CARE wasn't founded after 9/11. It was founded in 1994. You got the basic fact wrong. But that is not the important part. Nobody cares about that. He leaned forward. The important part is how you described 9/11. Some people did something. Let's be very clear about what 9/11 was. 19 al-Qaeda terrorists, trained in Afghanistan, funded by Osama bin Laden, organized, coordinated. They hijacked 4 commercial airliners, American citizens on board, families, children, people going to work, people going home. His voice was steady, but you could hear the emotion underneath, barely controlled. They flew 2 planes into the World Trade Center towers in Manhattan. Another into the Pentagon. A fourth crashed in Pennsylvania after passengers fought back. Heroes, Americans who said no, who fought, who died fighting. 2,977 people died. 9 over 11 first responders, office workers, firefighters, police officers, flight attendants, passengers, regular Americans going to work on a Tuesday morning. They kissed their families goodbye. They got on trains. They rode elevators. They sat at desks. And they never came home. He paused, the weight of those words settling over the room like a shroud. That is what happened. That is what some people did something actually means. That is what you minimized, what you dismissed, what you reduced to a throwaway line in a fundraising speech. President Trump retweeted a video. Your quote, "Some people did something," followed by footage of the attacks. The planes hitting, the towers falling, the smoke, the horror, the bodies. His caption, "We will never forget." The video got 10 million views in 24 hours. 10 million. You said the tweet increased death threats against you. Maybe it did. That is serious. Nobody should receive death threats. Threats are wrong. Violence is wrong. But you know what else happened? 9 over 11 families heard what you said. They heard you dismiss their loved ones' murders as something done by some people. They were devastated, furious, heartbroken, all over again. He looked up at the gallery. Nicholas Haros Jr., September 11th, 2019, 18th anniversary of the attacks. Ground Zero Memorial Ceremony. His mother, Frances Haros, died in the North Tower. She went to work that Tuesday morning, never came home. Nicholas was there to read names, but first he wanted to address you. Vance looked directly at a man in the gallery. 60 seconds. Gray hair, strong jawline, wearing a shirt with text printed on it. The words were clearly visible. Some people did something. Mr. Haros, would you like to speak? The man stood. You could hear the fabric rustle, the chair creak, his breathing steady and controlled. Years of grief compressed into composure. He walked to a microphone set up in the gallery section. His footsteps echoed, everyone watching, everyone silent. Congresswoman Omar. His voice cracked slightly, but held firm, strong, clear. You said, "Some people did something. I want to make sure you understand exactly who did what to whom." Omar looked up, saw him, saw the shirt. Her face went pale, actually pale, the color draining. On September 11th, 2001, 19 Islamic terrorists, members of Al-Qaeda, killed over 3,000 people and caused billions of dollars in economic damage. My mother was one of them, Frances Haros, age 76. She was an office manager at Marsh & McLennan, 96th floor, North Tower. His voice was shaking now, not from fear, but from rage held barely in check. Years of it compressed, focused. She went to work. She did her job. She helped people. She answered phones and managed schedules and made sure everything ran smoothly. And 19 men, 19 terrorists following Osama bin Laden's orders, they murdered her. They flew a plane into her building and murdered her. You could hear people crying in the gallery. Quiet sobs, sniffles, someone blowing their nose. That is not something. That is mass murder. That is terrorism. That is evil. And those weren't some people. They were terrorists, radical Islamic terrorists who declared war on America, on civilization, on everything decent. His voice broke. He paused, composed himself, and continued, "They murdered my mother. They murdered my friend's parents. They murdered children, babies, pregnant women, people who had done nothing. Nothing except go to work that day. You want to talk about civil liberties? My mother's civil liberties were shredded when American Airlines Flight 11 hit her building. Her liberty to live, to breathe, to see her grandchildren grow up, to retire, to enjoy life. All gone, stolen, because Some people did something. He stared at Omar. She couldn't meet his eyes, couldn't look, stared at her hands, at the table, at nothing. Do you understand now, Congresswoman? Do you understand why your words hurt? Why they were offensive? Why families like mine felt like you spit on our loved ones' graves? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Her throat moved, swallowing, trying, failing. "I'd like an answer, please," Haros said quietly. "Do you understand?" Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean. You said it in a speech to a large audience with cameras rolling. You meant it. You just didn't think anyone would call you on it. You thought you could say it to your base and nobody else would hear. But we heard. The families heard. America heard. Vance let the silence hold. 30 seconds. 40. Haros was still standing, still staring at Omar. She was looking at her hands. Trapped. Broken. "Thank you, Mr. Haros," Vance said finally, "for being here, for your courage, for your testimony, for making sure your mother's memory is honored." Haros nodded once, sharp, military, and walked back to his seat. You could hear every footstep, every breath, the whole room listening. Vance turned back to Omar. "After that memorial service, after Mr. Haros confronted you wearing that shirt with your words on it, after he called you out in front of everyone, you went on CBS, Face the Nation. You were asked if you understood why families were offended." He read from his notes. You said, quote, "I certainly could not understand the weight of the pain." End quote. Could not, can't. You still can't understand, even after Mr. Haros just explained it to you? Even after 18 years, even after seeing what your words did, you still don't get it. "I do understand," she started. "No, you don't. Because if you understood, you would have apologized, really apologized. Not the non-apology you gave. Not the 'I'm sorry if people were offended' garbage. Not the 'I'm the real victim here' deflection. A real apology." He counted on his fingers. "I was wrong. My words were cruel. I minimized the worst attack on American soil. I hurt families who are still grieving. I'm sorry. That apology. 5 simple sentences. You never gave it. You never will, because you don't think you were wrong. You think you are the victim." 3 more people stood, walked out. One of them slammed the door. The bang echoed, loud, angry. Some people did something. Let's talk about the anti-Semitism, because there is a pattern here too. A pattern of you minimizing atrocities. A pattern of you dismissing pain. And it is even uglier. 2012 tweet. You are not in Congress yet, just a state representative, just starting out. But you have opinions, strong opinions about Israel, about Jews. So you tweet. Vance read from his phone, quote, "Israel has hypnotized the world. May Allah awaken the people and help them see the evil doings of Israel." End quote. Hypnotized the world. He looked up. Classic anti-Semitic trope, by the way. The idea that Jews have some mystical power to control and deceive, to hypnotize, been around for centuries. The protocols of the Elders of Zion, Nazi propaganda, blood libel, all based on this idea that Jews have secret power, evil influence. You just updated it for Twitter. Omar shifted uncomfortably. That was taken out of context. It is a complete sentence, complete thought. Israel has hypnotized the world. Pretty clear. There is no context that makes that not anti-Semitic. But you apologized for that one eventually. After you got elected to Congress, after people kept bringing it up, 7 years later you apologized. Very big of you. Someone in the press section snorted. But that was just the beginning. February 2019. Now you are in Congress, freshman representative, brand new big progressive star, the squad. And you just can't help yourself. He pulled out printed tweets. Journalist Glenn Greenwald tweets about how much time Congress spends defending Israel. Standard progressive critique. Fine. You respond? He read her tweet. Quote, "It's all about the Benjamins, baby." End quote. With a music note emoji. Benjamins, $100 bills, money. When someone asks who you think is paying American politicians to support Israel, you reply with one word. AIPAC! Exclamation point. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee. He set the paper down. You just accused them of buying congressional support for Israel. Now, you could have criticized their policy positions. You could have questioned their lobbying tactics. You could have argued about foreign policy. That would have been legitimate political debate. But you didn't do that. You went straight to the money. The Benjamins, Jewish money-buying politicians, oldest anti-Semitic trope in the book, right up there with hypnotizing the world. The backlash was immediate. And here is what is interesting. It wasn't just Republicans. It was your own party, your own people. He pulled out another document. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, Majority Whip Jim Clyburn, every single member of Democratic leadership issued a joint statement. Let me read what they said. Quote, "Anti-Semitism is real. We condemn these remarks and call upon Congresswoman Omar to immediately apologize for these hurtful comments." End quote. That is your own party leadership, your own team condemning you, demanding you apologize. Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader, Democrat, New York, Jewish. He said your comments were offensive and irresponsible, and that intolerance has no place in Congress. Chelsea Clinton called you out. Batya Ungar Sargon from The Forward, a progressive Jewish publication, condemned you, all saying you crossed a line. Omar tried to interrupt. I apologized. After you were forced to. After every major Democrat told you to. Not before. Not voluntarily. You apologized because you had to. Because your career was at risk. Not because you thought you were wrong. And here is the proof. 1 month later, March 2019, Town Hall event, Busboys and Poets Bookstore in D.C. You do it again? He read from his notes. Quote, I want to talk about the political influence in this country that says it is okay to push for allegiance to a foreign country. End quote. Allegiance to a foreign country. He looked up. Let that hang. Dual loyalty. The accusation that American Jews are more loyal to Israel than to America? Another ancient anti-Semitic trope, literally used in Nazi Germany, used in the Dreyfus Affair, used to persecute Jews for centuries, used to question whether Jews can be real Americans, and you just said it out loud to a room full of people. The House of Representatives passed a resolution, not censuring you specifically, they couldn't. Your squad members protected you, but a resolution condemning anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, racism, and bigotry. Everyone knew it was about you. Everyone knew why they were doing it, because you kept saying anti-Semitic things. The gallery was restless now, murmuring, people shifting, the mood turning uglier. Fast forward to 2023. Republicans take the House. Kevin McCarthy becomes Speaker. One of his first acts, removing you from the House Foreign Affairs Committee. He read the statement, quote, for her numerous anti-Semitic and other problematic statements regarding the United States' democratic ally Israel. End quote. Removed, kicked off, because you couldn't stop saying anti-Semitic things? Your defense, you claimed it was Islamophobic, that you were being targeted for being Muslim. Not because of what you said, not because you repeatedly used language that Jews across the political spectrum said hurt them. No, because you are Muslim. The victim card again. Do you believe your comments about Israel and Jewish influence were anti-Semitic? Vance asked directly. I believe they were mischaracterized. That is not what I asked. Were they anti-Semitic? Did they rely on negative stereotypes about Jewish people? My criticism was about policy. You didn't criticize policy. You said it is all about the Benjamins. That is not policy criticism. That is accusing Jews of buying influence with money. I apologized. After you were forced to. After your own party condemned you. After American Jews across the political spectrum told you that you hurt them. Then you apologized. But you keep doing it, because you have learned you can get away with it. That is the pattern. His voice got harder. Say something anti-Semitic. Get called out. Apologize. Claim victimhood. Claim Islamophobia. Then do it again. Over and over. The cycle repeats. She was breathing faster, voice climbing even higher. That panic response. Senator, you are conflating criticism of Israel with, I am reading your actual words, your tweets, your speeches, your statements, all documented, all public, all on the record. You are the one who wrote them. You are the one who said them, not me. Here is what is remarkable. The Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party, your own state party, the people who endorsed you, who campaigned for you, who helped elect you. Even they have had to distance themselves from your anti-Semitic comments. Progressive Jewish organizations, people who agree with you on health care, on climate, on economic justice, on almost everything, they have all said the same thing. This is too much. This crosses a line. You went too far. But you keep doing it because you have learned you can get away with it. You apologize, you cry Islamophobia, your squad defends you, the media moves on, and nothing happens. No real consequences. He leaned forward. Until now. Under oath. Do you believe that American supporters of Israel are motivated primarily by money, rather than genuine policy beliefs? Long silence. She looked at her lawyer. He nodded slightly. She turned back. I believe lobbying in general is a problem not in general, specifically. Do you believe Jews are buying political influence? I never said Jews. You said AIPAC, a predominantly Jewish organization. You said Benjamins. You said allegiance to a foreign country. Stop hiding behind word games. Do you believe Jewish Americans have inappropriate financial influence over U.S. policy toward Israel? She couldn't answer, couldn't move, just sat there breathing, staring, panicking. Your silence speaks volumes. Let's move on to how you got rich, because that is a fascinating story. A really fascinating story about money. Since you seem so interested in talking about money and influence, more doors opening, more footsteps leaving. A section of her original supporters, 5 people, stood as a group, filed out together, audible, unmistakable, walking away. Your tax dollars at work. Let's talk about your financial disclosure forms. These are fascinating documents. Really fascinating. Every member of Congress has to file them annually. It is the law. You list your assets, your investments, your income sources, your spouse's business interests. Vance held up a thick folder. Very transparent, very democratic. Let's constituents know if you are getting rich in office, if you are enriching yourself while representing them, if you are using your position for personal gain. He opened the folder, pulled out 2 forms, and set them side by side. 2022. Your disclosure. Total net worth $158,000. Modest, nothing crazy, not poor, not rich, comfortable. You represented one of the poorest congressional districts in America. Median household income in your district $46,000 a year. So you weren't wealthy like some members, but you were doing okay. Fine. He pulled out the second form, held it up, papers rustling, the sound amplified. 2024 disclosure. 2 years later. Want to guess your net worth? Omar didn't respond, stared at the table. $6 million to $30 million. Gasps. Actual gasps from the gallery, loud enough to hear clearly. Your net worth jumped from under $160,000 to potentially $30 million. In 2 years. 2 years. You either discovered the secret to wealth that every economist has been searching for, or something else happened. Let me guess which one. Your husband, Tim Minett, E Street Group consultant, turned venture capitalist, turned winery owner. Quite the entrepreneur. Renaissance man. Let's look at his businesses, because this is where it gets really interesting. He pulled out a spreadsheet, read from it. Rose Lake Capital, venture capital firm, invests in businesses. Your 2023 disclosure listed its value between $1 and $1,000, basically nothing, barely worth mentioning. A rounding error. He paused. 2024 disclosure. Between $5 million and $25 million. More gasps, louder this time. From essentially zero to potentially $25 million in 1 year. 1 year. That is quite a return on investment. Then there is the winery, E.S.T. Crew. Fancy name, French, classy, 2023 disclosure, up to $50,000. Small investment? Wine hobby, 2024. Between $1 million and $5 million. He looked up. From $50,000 to $5 million overnight. While you were in Congress, representing the poorest district in Minnesota, making connections, taking meetings, using your influence, and suddenly he is a multi-millionaire. Congratulations. The sarcasm was thick enough to cut. But here is where it gets interesting. Congressional disclosure rules. Very specific, very clear. You don't list the full value of companies your spouse co-owns. You list your spouse's individual stake, his ownership percentage. If he owns 10% of a $5 million company, you list 500,000, not 5 million. Makes sense. It is his share that matters. His equity, his actual wealth. You listed the full company values, not his individual stakes. Your office even admitted it. Quote, the values on her disclosure form reflected the full value of the businesses rather than the value of her husband's individual shares. End quote. Your own office said you did it wrong. Every other member of Congress who has a spouse with partial business ownership, they list the actual stake value properly according to the rules. He rattled off names. Corey Mills, Florida Republican, he lists his 49% stake in his security firm. 7 figures, properly disclosed. April McLean Delaney, Maryland Democrat. Bradley Schneider, Illinois Democrat. They all properly disclose their spouse's actual stakes in businesses. You are the only one who didn't. Why? Because if you listed his actual ownership percentage, the numbers wouldn't be as impressive? Because you wanted to look richer than you are? Or because you are hiding something? Omar's lawyer was writing furiously. She sat frozen. Let's talk about those businesses. Rose Lake Capital, venture capital firm. Your husband's partner is a guy named Will Haler. Same partner from E Street Group. Remember them? $3 million. They invest in businesses, cannabis companies, wineries. Very trendy, very progressive. June 2024, Rhode Island Current publishes a story. Your husband and Haler are being sued by an investor, Naeem Mohayemen. He invested $300,000 in their winery. They promised him a 200% return in 18 months. Promised in writing. He paused. Let it build. Want to know what happened? According to the lawsuit, no return. The principal was eventually repaid after delays, after lawyers got involved, but the promised profits never materialized. Not a dime. Mohayemen claims they misrepresented the company's financial condition. Fraud, according to him. In court documents from February 2024, Haler's lawyer had to disclose their bank account balances, discovery, financial records. Let me read you some numbers. He looked down at his notes, then back up. Rose Lake Capital, the venture capital firm, supposedly worth $25 million on your disclosure. Bank account balance, $42.44. Dead silence. Then gasps, then actual shouts of disbelief from the gallery. $42. Not 42,000. Not 42 million. 42. The firm, supposedly worth up to 25 million, had $42 in the bank. A decent dinner. That is what they had. E.S.T. Ventures. Another one of their firms. Bank account balance, 5 cents, a nickel, 1 coin. The winery, the one supposedly worth $5 million. Basically, broke. Empty accounts. No money. Cannabis companies in South Dakota sued them for failing to meet fundraising commitments. They promised to raise $3.5 million for these businesses. Raised some, then the money disappeared. Lawsuits claim over $1.7 million missing, gone, vanished. Investors want to know where it went. The gallery was erupting. Angry shouts. People standing. Pointing. Vance banged his gavel. "Order! Order! In this chamber!" It took a minute. People sat slowly, reluctantly, the anger palpable. So while your husband's companies are being sued for fraud, while investors are claiming he stole their money, while bank accounts are empty, you are filing disclosure forms claiming $30 million net worth. You are living in luxury, designer clothes, first-class travel, million-dollar valuations on paper. Meanwhile, your district, Minnesota's 5th, Minneapolis, median household income $46,000 a year, 22% poverty rate. Nearly 1 in 4 people in your district live below the poverty line. He let that number sink in. Families choosing between food and rent. Parents working 3 jobs. Kids going hungry. People 1 paycheck away from homelessness. That is who you represent. That is who voted for you. That is who believed in you. You ran on progressive values. Tax the rich. Help the poor. Economic justice. Fight for working families. All the slogans. All the promises. But while you were promising to help them, you were getting rich. $30 million rich. While they struggled, you prospered. Congresswoman, can you explain how your net worth increased by $29 million in 2 years? She was barely whispering. My husband's businesses? The ones being sued for fraud? The ones with 5 cents in their bank accounts? Those businesses made you $30 million? The valuations are paper valuations, made-up numbers. Your husband's firm is supposedly worth $25 million, but has $42 in the bank. That is not wealth. That is fraud. That is a shell game. That is fake. Senator, you are under oath. Can you explain this wealth? Can you explain how someone goes from broke to multimillionaire in 2 years through businesses that have no money? Silence. Complete silence. She had nothing. No answer, no excuse, no defense. Just silence. Let me paint a picture. A family in your district, Minneapolis North Side. 2 parents, 3 kids. Both parents work. Dad's a mechanic. Mom's a teacher's aide. They make $52,000 combined. Not much, but they work hard, both of them. After taxes, they take home $44,000. Rent $18,000 a year. Food $8,000. Car payment, insurance, utilities, clothes, school supplies. They are broke by the end of every month. Every month. 1 emergency away from disaster. 1 hospital bill from eviction. They voted for you, believed in you, thought you would fight for them, thought you understood poverty, struggle, hard work, thought you were one of them. His voice got harder, but you don't. You don't understand them at all, because while they were choosing between groceries and electricity, you were becoming a multimillionaire. While they were using food stamps to feed their kids, you were paying your husband's firm millions. While they were 1 paycheck from homelessness, you were filing false disclosure forms and claiming to be worth $30 million. You didn't represent them. You exploited them. Used their votes. Used their trust. Used their belief in progressive politics. Used their hope. and got rich, spectacularly rich, on their backs. The gallery erupted. Not applause, not cheers. Angry shouts, demands, people standing, pointing, furious, betrayed. Order! Vance banged the gavel once, twice, 3 times. Order in this chamber. The room settled slowly, reluctantly, people sitting back down, but the anger remained thick in the air. Omar was crying quiet tears, not from remorse, from being cornered, from knowing there was no escape, from realizing everyone knew, everyone saw, trapped. We have one more topic to cover, and then we are done. Almost done. The Feeding Our Future fraud. The billion-dollar scheme in your district, in your community, because you took money from them too. She didn't look up, just cried silently, shoulders shaking. Your tax dollars at work, Feeding Our Future, non-profit organization, beautiful name, beautiful mission, feed hungry children, provide meals for kids in poverty, low-income families, your district, your constituents' children, noble cause. Vance's voice was flat, emotionless, the calm before the storm, federal grants, state funding, millions of dollars flowing in to feed kids who need it, kids whose parents work minimum wage, kids who depend on school meals, kids who go hungry without help, millions of dollars to feed them. He paused. Except they didn't feed kids. They stole the money, $1 billion. Largest COVID relief fraud in American history, 70 people indicted. Federal prosecutors, FBI, U.S. Attorney's Office, massive investigation, years of work. Fake meal sites, fake attendance records, fake kids, all fake. Just paperwork, just theft. They would report serving 10,000 meals a day, actually served 100, filed for reimbursement for 10,000. Government paid. Easy money. $1 billion. That is how much they stole from programs meant to feed hungry children, your constituents' children. Kids living in poverty in Minneapolis, kids whose parents worked essential jobs during COVID, grocery workers, bus drivers, nurses, people who couldn't stay home, kids who needed food. And these people stole it. His voice got colder. And you took money from them. Your campaign, your fundraising, Federal Election Commission records, public information, donations from defendants, people who have been indicted, convicted, some already in federal prison. He read from a document, $7,400 documented from 3 defendants. Safari restaurant case, Mukhtar Sharif, Liban Yassin, Filsan Mukhumud Hassan, all connected to the fraud, all gave money to your campaign, all bought access to you, all thought you would protect them. You claim you returned it, quote, a couple years ago, end quote. Very vague, very convenient. Did you return it after they were indicted? After they were arrested? After reporters started asking questions? When exactly? Independent reviewers looking at your campaign finance records suggest you received more than double what you publicly returned. Maybe 15,000 total? Maybe more. Hard to know for sure because your campaign reporting is, as we have established today, not exactly reliable. Someone in the press section laughed bitterly. But let's talk about the damage. Not to you, to your district, to the Somali community you claim to represent. These fraudsters, they were Somali American, used their community connections, their mosque affiliations, their nonprofit status, their ethnic ties to steal 70 indictments, most of them Somali immigrants or children of immigrants, people you claim to protect, to represent, to empower. They committed massive fraud, made your entire community look criminal, fed every racist stereotype about refugee fraud, about immigrants gaming the system, about Somalis being corrupt. They hurt legitimate Somali businesses, hurt honest community members trying to make it in America, trying to prove themselves, trying to build better lives. And these criminals destroyed that, made everyone look bad, made everyone suspect, and you took their money. You accepted donations from people who were stealing from starving children, who were betraying their own community, who were enriching themselves while kids went hungry. You took their cash for your campaign, used it to get re-elected, used it to maintain power. When reporters started asking questions, what did you do? Did you immediately return every penny? Did you denounce the fraud? Did you apologize to the kids who didn't get fed? Did you apologize to the Somali community for taking money from people who made them all look bad? Did you work with prosecutors to help convict these criminals? He answered his own questions. No. You gave the minimum response required, returned some money, issued a bland statement, said you didn't know, claimed ignorance, moved on, protected yourself. Not the kids, not the community, yourself. Did you know these donors were involved in fraud when you accepted their money? She shook her head. Barely visible, small, defeated. You didn't know they were major community figures running massive non-profit organizations, processing millions in federal funds? And you had no idea? You never asked where the money came from? Never wondered why they had so much to donate? Never questioned anything? No? Or did you know and not care because the money was good? Because you needed it to beat Don Samuels in the primary? Because campaign cash is campaign cash, and you don't ask questions? I would never. You have taken money from your campaign for personal use. We proved that today. You have paid your husband millions from campaign funds. We proved that. You filed false financial disclosure forms. We proved that. You have lied repeatedly. We proved that. Why should anyone believe you didn't know about the fraud? She had nothing. No defense, no excuse, just tears and silence. 7 scandals, 7 rounds. Let me summarize for everyone listening. Here is what we have proven today. What the evidence shows. What the documents demonstrate. He counted on his fingers. 1. You paid your husband over $4 million in campaign funds while conducting an affair with him, while both of you were married to other people, using donor money for your personal relationship. 2. You violated Minnesota campaign finance law. The state board investigated, found you guilty. You had to pay fines and reimbursements. You broke state law. That is not alleged. That is adjudicated. That is proven. 3. You minimized 9/11. Called it, some people did something, hurt families who lost loved ones, showed contempt for victims, never really apologized, never acknowledged the pain you caused, just deflected and claimed victimhood. 4. You repeatedly made anti-Semitic comments, said Israel hypnotized the world, said it is all about the Benjamins, said supporters of Israel have dual loyalty to a foreign country. Your own party condemned you. You were removed from committee assignments, but you still claim you are the victim. 5. Your net worth exploded from $160,000 to $30 million, while your husband's supposedly multi-million-dollar businesses have $42 in the bank. Fraud on paper. Fake wealth. But you filed those disclosure forms, claimed that wealth, lied about your finances. 6. You took money from people who stole from starving children. The Feeding Our Future fraud. $1 billion stolen from programs meant to feed hungry kids. And you took their money, used it, kept it until you got caught. 7 scandals. 7 proven cases of corruption, dishonesty, violation of law, and abuse of power. Not alleged, not claimed. Proven, documented, evidence-based facts. And through it all, you played the victim. Claimed Islamophobia, claimed racism, claimed persecution, claimed you were being targeted for your identity. But the evidence doesn't lie. The documents don't lie. The bank records don't lie. The state boards don't lie. The victims don't lie. He leaned forward. Final blow. You do. You lie. That is what you do. That is what this hearing has proven beyond any doubt. You lie. The silence was total, complete, absolute. You could hear the air conditioning, someone's stomach growling, nothing else. This committee will issue its final report in 30 days. Our recommendation will be censure, removal from all committee assignments, and referral to the Department of Justice for potential criminal prosecution. The evidence supports all three. The facts support all three. Justice demands all three. He picked up his gavel. This hearing is adjourned. Bang! The sound echoed. Final, damning, done. The room exploded. Not chaos, relief. Justice. People standing, talking, shouting. Reporters rushing for the exits to file stories. Gallery members hugging, some crying. Nicholas Harros Jr., standing tall, vindicated. Omar sat at the table, broken, destroyed. Her lawyer gathered papers frantically, tried to hurry her out, tried to shield her. Failed. She stood slowly, unsteady, like someone who had been hit repeatedly. Walked toward the exit, head down, defeated, every step visible to everyone. As she passed Nicholas Harros Jr.'s row, he stood silent, just watching, making sure she saw him, making sure she remembered. She couldn't meet his eyes. Looked down, kept walking. The door closed behind her. The sound echoed through the chamber. Final, conclusive. The sound of accountability. The sound of consequences. The sound of justice. Some people did something. No. 19 terrorists murdered 3,000 Americans. And one congresswoman minimized it, stole from her constituents, lied repeatedly, got rich through corruption, and finally got held accountable. Within hours, the clips went viral. Every network, every platform, cable news, running it on loop. Let me ask you about the money became an instant meme. Some people did something trending worldwide. $42 in the bank shared millions of times. The internet did what it does. Remixed, memed, auto-tuned. Someone set the entire hearing to music. Dark humor. Savage humor. American internet justice in action. Her phone was off. Office closed. Staff releasing statements. Corporate speak. Taking time to reflect. Processing feedback. Translation. Hiding. Running. Unable to defend the indefensible. Senate Democrats issued careful statements, measured, calculated. We take these allegations seriously. We support thorough investigations. Nobody defended her. Not one. Even the squad went silent. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez retweeted a climate post. Rashida focused on Palestine. Ayanna Pressley talked about voting rights. Nobody mentioned Omar. Nobody wanted to be associated with her. The Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party held an emergency meeting, leaked to press within an hour, discussing options, evaluating next steps. Translation: how do we get rid of her without looking racist? How do we distance ourselves without admitting we enabled her? 3 major Minnesota donors, Somali-American business leaders, published an open letter. Published it in the Star Tribune. Front page. We are devastated by the testimony presented today. We believed Representative Omar represented our values, our community, our hopes. We were wrong. We call for her immediate resignation. Signed by 15 community leaders, imams, business owners, teachers, people who had supported her, defended her. Not anymore. CARE quietly distanced itself, removed photos of her from their website, deleted tweets praising her, scrubbed the association, memory hold the relationship, self-preservation. Fox News ran 8 segments in 12 hours. CNN struggled with how to cover it, wanted to defend her. Couldn't. The evidence was too strong, too clear. MSNBC mostly ignored it, pretended it wasn't happening. The internet had no such hesitation, destroyed her thoroughly, completely. Nicholas Harros Jr. gave one interview after the hearing. Just one. 60 Minutes, Sunday night, prime time. Watched by 14 million Americans. He sat in his living room, calm, composed. Picture of his mother on the mantel behind him, Frances Harrow smiling, forever, 76. She finally heard me, he said quietly. For 5 years, I tried to make her understand what some people did something meant to families like mine. What it meant to hear our loved ones' murders dismissed as something done by some people. Today, in that room, with everyone watching, she had to listen. His voice was steady. She couldn't run, couldn't deflect, couldn't play victim, couldn't hide behind Islamophobia claims. She had to sit there and hear what she did. Hear how her words hurt. Hear the truth. He paused, collected himself, continued, "My mother died so people like her could live free, could come to America as refugees, could serve in Congress. Mom believed in this country, in its values, in its promise, in the idea that anyone could make it here if they worked hard. And Omar used her position, the position my mother's death helped protect, to minimize that sacrifice, to call mass murder something, to call terrorists some people. Today, she was held accountable. Finally, it doesn't bring Mom back, doesn't undo the pain, doesn't fill the hole in our family, but it matters. Justice matters. Truth matters. Accountability matters. And today, we got some of that. The 9/11 Families Association issued a statement thanking Senator Vance, thanking the committee, expressing hope that Omar would do the right thing. Resign. Let someone who respects America represent that district. Maria Rodriguez, third-grade teacher. Whittier International Elementary, Omar's district. She had tried for 3 years to report missing school funds, money that was supposed to go to supplies, books, programs, science equipment, art materials. It disappeared. She filed complaints, got stonewalled, ignored, told to stop making trouble. After the hearing, she got a call. Minnesota Department of Education. They had been monitoring the testimony, wanted to reopen her case, investigate further, actually investigate this time. 3 weeks later, the audit was complete. $400,000 in missing education funds traced to shell companies. Companies connected to feeding our future defendants. The same defendants who donated to Omar. The money was recovered. Frozen accounts, seized assets, returned, distributed to 12 schools in Omar's district. Maria stood in her classroom. New books lining the shelves, science equipment on the tables, art supplies in the cabinets. She held up a book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, brand new, colorful, perfect. "My kids deserve this," she said to the local news crew. "They deserve books and supplies and a chance to learn, and they deserve a representative who fights for them instead of stealing from them. Maybe now they will get that. Maybe now someone will care." Jamal Hassan, Somali immigrant, came to America in 2003, age 19. Nothing but hope and determination. Opened a restaurant in Cedar Riverside, Omar's neighborhood, Minneapolis. Hired local people, fed the community, honest business, hard work, the American dream. After the Feeding Our Future arrests, his business suffered. Customers disappeared. They assumed he was involved. No evidence, no connection, just guilty by association. Somali restaurant in the fraud district. Must be corrupt. Must be stealing. Business dropped 60%. Almost had to close. After Omar's hearing, something changed. Customers came back. Apologized. Actually apologized. "We know you aren't like them. We know you are honest. We were wrong to assume." Business doubled in a month, tripled in 2 months. "She hurt all of us," Jamal said, serving lamb biryani to a regular customer. Every Somali in America. Every immigrant trying to make it. She made us all look corrupt. Made people think we are all thieves, all fraudsters, all taking advantage that we come here and steal. He shook his head. But maybe now people see the difference between honest immigrants working hard, building businesses, raising families, and politicians who steal, who lie, who use us and betray us. Maybe now people see we aren't all like her. House Ethics Committee opened a full investigation separate from the Senate hearing, bipartisan. Even Democrats couldn't defend her anymore. The evidence was too strong, the testimony too damning. Minnesota GOP announced a primary challenge. Don Samuels, black community leader, former city council member, credible, well-funded, respected. Internal polling showed him leading by 18 points. 18 inches her own district, her own primary. The Department of Justice Criminal Division opened a preliminary investigation into campaign finance violations. Federal charges possible. Prison time possible. Years of it. 3 progressive organizations revoked endorsements. Justice Democrats, Our Revolution, Working Families Party, all dropped her, removed her from their websites, scrubbed the association. 4 bills were proposed in Congress in response. Stricter spousal campaign payment limits. Mandatory financial disclosure audits for all members. Ban on members serving while under ethics investigation. Enhanced transparency requirements for lobbying criticism. None would pass. Too controversial, too political. But the debate mattered. The conversation mattered. The accountability mattered. She moved out of her D.C. apartment, back to Minneapolis. House in Minnetonka, gated community, security, hiding from constituents, hiding from press, hiding from consequences, no public appearances, no interviews, no town halls, no events. Staff quit. 3 in 1 week. Senior advisors, communications director. Couldn't defend her anymore. Couldn't stomach it. Couldn't be associated with the corruption. Her Twitter went silent. Used to tweet 20 times daily. Hot takes, provocations, attacks. Now, nothing. 0. Ghost account. The silence was deafening. Primary challenge from Don Samuels looked increasingly likely to succeed. Internal Democratic polls showed her approval at 22% in her own district. 22. Historically low. Catastrophically low. Nearly 4 in 5 voters disapproved. Divorce rumors started circulating. Her marriage to Tim Minette reportedly strained. Financial stress, legal bills mounting, his fraud lawsuits, her investigations, his empty bank accounts, her fake wealth claims. Love built on campaign money doesn't survive scrutiny, doesn't survive accountability, doesn't survive truth. She had become exactly what she claimed to fight, a corrupt politician, enriching herself while representing the poor, living in luxury while constituents struggled, using identity politics as a shield, playing victim while victimizing others. The ultimate hypocrite. This isn't just about one corrupt congresswoman. It isn't just about Ilhan Omar. It is about accountability, about consequences, about the system finally working the way it is supposed to work. For too long, Omar hid behind identity politics, behind claims of victimhood, behind accusations of Islamophobia and racism and bigotry. She weaponized her identity, used it as a shield against legitimate criticism, used it to avoid accountability, used it to deflect from her corruption. Every time someone questioned her finances, she cried Islamophobia. Every time someone challenged her statements, she claimed persecution. Every time someone demanded answers, she played victim. And it worked. For years it worked. The media was scared. Democrats were scared. Nobody wanted to be called a bigot, so they stayed silent. Let her continue. Let her steal. Let her lie. But facts don't care about your identity. Evidence doesn't care about your religion. Bank records don't care about your race. Campaign finance violations don't care about your background. The truth is the truth. And today, the truth won. To every other corrupt politician watching this, and you know who you are, we are coming. We have the receipts. We have the documents. We have the bank records. We have the testimony. We have the victims ready to speak. And we are not afraid of your accusations. We are not intimidated by your deflections. We are not deterred by your victim narratives. The American people deserve honest representation. They deserve leaders who fight for them, not steal from them. They deserve politicians who serve them, not exploit them. They deserve accountability, and they are going to get it. One hearing at a time, one investigation at a time, one corrupt politician at a time, we are coming for all of them. The days of hiding behind identity are over. The days of claiming victimhood while victimizing others are done. The era of corruption without consequences is ending. Justice, exposure, consequences. That is the new standard. That is the promise. That is what America demands. That is what America deserves. If you are tired of corrupt politicians getting away with it, hit that like button right now. Share this everywhere. Send it to everyone you know. Let people know what happened here today. Let them know that accountability is possible, that justice is real, that corruption has consequences. Drop a comment. Tell me which other politician needs this treatment. Maxine Waters and her family enrichment scheme? Adam Schiff and his lies? The squad members who enabled Omar? Nancy Pelosi and her husband's stock trades? We are taking requests. We are making a list, because this isn't over. This is just the beginning. We are shining light on every corrupt politician who thinks they are untouchable. Every hypocrite who gets rich while claiming to represent the poor. Every liar who hides behind identity politics. Every thief who steals from constituents. Subscribe if you want more. If you want justice, if you want accountability, if you believe that politicians should serve the people, not themselves, hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications, because we are just getting started. The next one is coming soon, and it is going to be even more devastating. See you there.